Wow, what a tech week. 3 manufacturers recently took the stage to announce some new products, and the first one being is Apple. They started off their keynote with talking about a few what I call small things. A new plan for Apple Music called the Voice Plan, a new HomePod Mini, and then a new set of AirPods. However, in this video, we're going to be covering the bigger announcements that they had. Alright, that's enough. It's time to get started. Remember how last year Apple ditched Intel and made their own system on a chip on what's called the M1? Well, they announced a couple new chips this year, and the first one that they discussed is M1 Pro. As Apple stated in their keynote, it's their first Pro chip and will be going into the MacBook Pro. This chip has a 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU, 32 gigabytes of unified memory, and runs at 200 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. It's freaking fast! With 33.7 billion transistors, it's twice the speed of the original M1. I mean, Intel, you may want to step up your game if you're trying to earn Apple's business back. Okay, moving on. Now, if that's not enough power for you, don't worry, because Apple's got your back. Like I said earlier, Apple announced a couple new chips this year, and the last one they talked about is M1 Max. What's the specs of this bad boy? Well, let's just say it is insane. This chip has a 10-core CPU just like the M1 Pro, but also a 32-core GPU, 64 gigabytes of unified memory, and runs at 400 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. Oh my! With 57 billion transistors inside this chip. Not only is it much more powerful for those hardcore pro users, but it's also offering more power with less watts. How could something like this consume 40% less power than its competitors? That is insane. I mean, wow! Now, with all this power integrated into these two chips, how does macOS utilize them? Well, for starters, Apple came out with Rosetta 2, supporting Intel-based apps and 10,000 universal apps and plugins. The transition from Intel to M1 isn't completed yet, but this updated version of Rosetta should make it a bit easier. The MacBook Pro is now getting CPUs that really stand out from the original M1, but these are not going into the current MacBook Pros that Apple is selling. Instead, they are going inside 2 new MacBook Pros that are refreshed. So now, let's get into the hardware announcements, as I'm sure everyone is excited for this. Before I move on though, I want to ask, what do you think of this video so far? Be sure to rate it down below and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Appreciate your feedback and support. Alright, let's get into some new laptops, shall we? The 2 new MacBook Pros Apple announced are the 14-inch and the 16-inch. Both contain a redesign, and you know what else? Apple listened to the consumers. Gone is the touch bar that's normally at the top of the keyboard, but is replaced with function keys. Yes! Finally! But the party doesn't stop there. Because now you have more ports to deal with and less dongles. On the right side of the laptop, you have an HDMI, Thunderbolt 4 ports, and an SD card slot. On the left side, MagSafe has returned and can be used for charging. And after that, you have 2 more Thunderbolt 4 ports and a headphone jack. Sadly, no USB-A, which I would have liked at least one. But I can also appreciate keeping these notebooks thin, because it's hard to do when you're trying to add all these ports. So, yeah. Anyhow, let's talk about the screens. Apple made the sides of the display 24% thinner, and not only that, the top has a notch to hold the camera in. And the top bar we're all familiar with accessing the Apple menu, file tab, and all, wraps around this notch for more screen space. With these thinner borders, you actually get either a 16.2-inch display or a 14.2-inch display, depending on the model that you get. And these have ProMotion 120Hz displays with Liquid Retina XDR. These also have a 1080p camera with 2 times better low light, better microphone, a 6-speaker sound system, pro performance with 7.4 gigabytes of SSD read speeds. Holy moly! The design of these new MacBook Pros reminds me a lot of some of the older designs, meaning the ones before the current models Apple is selling. To be honest, I love those older designs better just from the way they look, especially my 2015 MacBook Pro, so I do appreciate this newer design. And by adding ports, it's more functional than ever. While this sounds and looks great, it's not cheap. Should we even be surprised? You can order these today, and the 14-inch model starts at $19.99 and the 16-inch model starts at $24.99. Both come in colors of either space gray or silver. Available on October 26th of this year, 2021. I think Apple nailed it on this one, and hopefully the rest of their lineup gets the same benefits in the future. What do you guys think? Do you love them? Hate them? Will you be getting any of these? Or will you be like me and stick with your current Mac since it's still working? Or do you not care and just stick with PCs? Leave a comment down below. Well, that's it for this video. Don't forget to rate this video if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe and bell notification to be notified when I post a new video. Also follow me on Twitter to see what I'm up to, as if I'm working on a new video, I'll mention it there first so that you get a sneak peek. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.